Happy birthday, Cars 2. Admittedly, the weakest installment of the Cars trilogy. And I remember being so excited to watch that film, and as well as Jurassic Park 3, despite them being the weakest installments of their series, on my Sydney trip, which I have yet to talk about in the future. Also, know that this is the second time I recorded this video because it'll be like 21 minutes long or so when I upload this, and yet I was 13 minutes into it when stupid me must have clicked the back button or the tabs button and took me to the tabs page. And I went back, and then I noticed that I had ended my recording. And if I finish the rest of it, there won't be enough space on my tablet in order to edit the whole thing together, which will create a whole nother extra video, and that won't fit onto my tablet. Another example of the stupid storage problems being the curse of my life, but don't worry, that should be fixed soon. And if it's not, I will force my mom at gunpoint in order to take me to Walmart or something tomorrow in order to get this fixed, because I am so goddamn sick and tired of it. And I don't usually say that word a lot. But anyways, on to a lighter note, Cars 2. Admittedly, there's a lot of films that I like or care about or acknowledge the quality of that don't get as much credit as they deserve. And yet, Cars 2, I feel like, is possibly the best example of this. Because I am very, very, and I mean very nostalgic for this film. Very nostalgic. And sorry for not sounding super excited just because of what happened there. I got really ticked off. And now I'm repeating it, and I'm probably going to miss out on a few things. Crap oldie. But yeah, this came out in 2011, and the first movie came out in 2006. And despite me being, like, very young when it came out, I was still not, like, super hyped and everything like that about it. Because at the time, I didn't know exactly what I loved fully and what I should be super proud of loving at the time. So I wasn't like, oh wow, another Cars movie, I'm so excited, oh my goodness. I was like, okay, more Cars. And that was about it, really. Very different from how I am nowadays, am I right? Especially when Cars 3 came out. But yeah, I am, like I said, very nostalgic for this movie, and it has a lot of impact on me, especially during the early 2010s, of course, obviously. Way before Cars 3 came out, and way before the golden age of the diecast line happened, which was like parts of 2013 all the way to early 2017. And yeah, this movie is about, you guys already know the whole story. It's very complicated. Mater and McQueen end up, as well as other characters, get wrapped into this whole around the world Grand Prix thing, and they go on this adventure. And during all this, there's a whole espionage, spy, criminal, gasoline thing. You guys know the whole story, and Mater ends up saving the day. You know it all. And do I mind this movie's story? No, because unlike a lot of bad sequels and stuff like that, this movie, I feel like, understands the fact that we already completed McQueen's arc in the first movie, and it's not Cars 3 just yet. We can't just like do this whole retirement thing immediately after Cars 1. We need some, not exactly filler, but we need some connection points in between in order to make it feel more earned. And thus, we can't really do much with McQueen now, and also having Mater as the main character sounds pretty reasonable. And as for Mater being the main character himself, I honestly like it, because you get to sympathize with him, because he's a bit like Po in Kung Fu Panda, where he's an optimist the whole time and he doesn't let stuff that happens to him really get to him emotionally too well. Or he's just simply being silly and uncultured at stuff like that, and still is having a laugh, even if he's kind of embarrassing himself, even though he can be depressed at times. It isn't until his later spiritual awakening that he starts to notice what people think of him, and that ends up leading to the awesome climax where he goes around and saves people's lives, especially McQueen, since he cares so much for him. And I love Finn McMissile and Holly Shiftwell and all the other spy stuff. It's so actiony and awesome and jam-packed with fun stuff. And I remember taking this Finn McMissile as well, and this was one of my earliest Cars 2 diecasts, and you can clearly tell I put a lot of love into this thing as well. And I would go on to like McDonald's play places and have him going around through the tubes and slides and stuff like that on platforms, and taking him to my old school Grants playground and having him go on this little spirally thing and stuff like that, just like the spirally ramp on the oil rig. Good stuff. And yeah, I like the whole spy element, like I said, but also the World Grand Prix racers are also cool. I don't like them as much as most Piston Cup racers, of course. But yeah, they have their own unique charm in certain ways, and I do like them. Plus, because of how they're unique designs from one another. And yeah, I know a lot of people also complain about the whole change in like tone and everything like that, but I don't mind that at times, because narrative structure between sequels is very nice, and this movie doesn't do the best job at it. But in terms of tone, having a film that's tonally different from the last film can be a very nice change and stuff like that, instead of each film just seeming samey compared to the last times. Admittedly, some of the Transformer movies kind of suffer from this, even one of the better sequels, even. But yeah, sometimes more of the same isn't really a problem and all, but when you completely rehash the same thing or change it up too differently to the point where it loses its identity, then yeah, it's all messed up. But Cars 2 doesn't go too hard either, but it also doesn't go too easy, so that's nice. And I like the World Grand Prix racers, even though it's all different from the Piston Cup stuff, the espionage and the mystery, and yeah, it's all fun to watch. I love the music as well. I love all the different themes and blending of soundtracks and the nervousness and sort of like tingling down your spine you often get from some of the pieces of music. It's nothing too incredible, I'd say, but I also love stuff like the Jambo. I can't exactly remember what the word used for it, but it was in Bob Show's video of this movie, which I'll talk about in a second. But the music that's used for Mater when he's flying with McQueen on his back and everything, which is an awesome and cool sequence. Yeah, I like that music as well as tons of other music in this film. And the sound design is also awesome, and I love to see people making memes out of it as well, especially the um, battleship exploding. Skibidi bop bop boom. I love the animation so much as well. It's so crisp. I prefer the look of the first film, honestly. I think it's because it looks more colorful, also because of the time of day. Cars 2 takes place in like the middle of day in Italy, which is different from Radiator Springs, of course. Nighttime in Tokyo, which is very nice and I like it. Though it's not like nighttime in Radiator Springs or the MSS either. And you also have the gray, cloudy day in London, which is kind of normal. I think people like IHE will get that. And every single scene in like Radiator Springs for some reason is like during like the sundown kind of time in the afternoon, sort of, instead of being in the morning and at nighttime in the middle of the day. And that's what I'm kind of used to in the first movie, or directly at dawn, basically. And it is different seeing Radiator Springs so populated. It's so cool seeing the wheel well being turned into a bar and being so populated and full of good people and everything. I almost completely forgot to mention in my previous recording of this video the whole Bob Doc Hudson thing. Rest in peace, Paul Newman. You did such a great job with such an amazing character. Rest in peace, good sir. I love the little tribute to him in this movie, and they did have plans of having him die in like a flashback or something like that. And honestly, I kind of prefer it being a mystery, to be honest. Though an explanation would also be welcomed. And I do like the fact that it's kind of alluded to that he passed away, but not exactly directly. Like there's a reason for why. Probably just simply old age, and to be honest. And I'll bring up the whole death thing later on as well. A lot of stuff to bring up. What else? The humor as well. This movie isn't the funniest Pixar film, nor is it in like the top 20th favorite comedies out there or whatever, or the best films with humor in them. But still, this movie has a lot of fun juvenile humor from Mater and stuff like that. But sometimes having that is perfectly fine as long as it's not so horrible to the point where it gets rancidly obnoxious, like Ice Age 5 or Norm of the North. Ugh. But yeah, all the various bits of slapstick and visual gags. I love the references and stuff like that that aren't shoehorned either, like Shark Tale. Can you handle the truth or something? No, I'm saying the quote wrong. But yeah, the reference humor at times works well in this, and there's not too much of it. It's more so very subtle stuff. And some of it's not even just humor, it's more so just like references and motifs from various other spy elements. And Incredibles does this pretty well too. Possibly even better, I'd say. Yeah, much better to be honest. But still, that's a story for another time. And yeah, I like the culture-based humor, and I love, and thankfully none of it gets into stereotypes either, unlike Bwalba. And what else? Oh, how can I forget to mention the carifying of the world? Cars 1 did a great job of carifying the universe, to be honest. Cars 3, I feel like, just kind of carried over elements from the first and sometimes second films, and everything else was just kind of normal, to be honest. And whatever's super necessary, like the simulators and stuff like that, and the guitars and things like that, those are kind of changed for the Cars universe, but I don't feel like there's too much really different, to be honest. This film, you feel it like everywhere, from the planes to those little sleeping booths to the buttons and the guns and the shows and the food and everything about it. It's just so creative. And even like the history that you see in the places, the architecture, the paintings, it's truly amazing. And that's another thing of this film. Some people call this movie Pixar's embarrassment. And honestly, Even The Good Dinosaur, to be honest, which I only have seen once a long time ago, should not be an embarrassment too much for Pixar, to be honest, because at least it has beautiful backgrounds. This film, I'd rank above a few other Pixar films, in my opinion, to be honest. So yeah, I definitely have to say, Pixar should not be too, unproud of this film. And now I'd better bring up the fact, something else about this film is I already brought up how a lot of people don't give this movie credit. That's kind of an understatement. A lot of people loathe this movie and constantly tease it and bash it at times, though thankfully not to the point of overabundance or annoyance or anything like that. Well, it is annoying, but not too much to the point where it's like on Emoji Movie levels. So we're not at that caliber of pit of despair just yet. But yeah, honestly, the Emoji Movie is an embarrassment for Sony. This movie is not an embarrassment for Pixar. It really should not be. It should be like a nice little token award kind of thing that they put on their forehead, maybe, or on their back, perhaps. Who knows? But yeah, it always makes me so happy when I see a commenter or a friend of mine on Discord or something like that, or even better, Disney Docket, and especially most of all, the video from Bob's show, which you definitely should go watch about this film, and praising it and how it deserves more respect. That gives me hope in humanity and this fandom in general. And I always thank people for giving Cars 2 just the slightest ounce of credit. And it always was nice to see John Lasseter so passionate with this movie and his conceptualization of it all, and just how much effort and just shininess was put into it. And yes, a lot of people do bash this film, like Cinema Win. I mean, no, sorry, Cinema Sins. I don't know about Cinema Wins' thoughts on this film. Who knows? They may make a video on it someday. Hopefully. And people who I cannot stand, well, Joey T. Cartoon, he's showcased his dislike for this movie, I think, in a video. IHE, I believe, does as well, but I respect their opinions, and I respect them in general. Can't say the same for Watch Mojo. I think they disliked this film. I could be wrong. As well as Cinema Sins, like I said, the Blockbuster Buster, and of course, you know who I'm talking about, NC. But the most notorious example is actually coming from a channel that I appreciate and respect a lot, and that's Chef Rose Productions. I'm perfectly fine with someone having a different opinion, but good lord, you have to force it in every goddamn video. The only exceptions that come to my mind at first are the Shrek Forever After and Megamind videos, which the Megamind one got an edit and it kind of broke the pacing. It's in the Megamind versus Despicable Me comparison. Go check that video out. But yeah, he doesn't directly embarrass those movies at all in that video, thankfully. And what a relief, for God's sakes. I really want to make a salute for Chef Frillis, but because of that and all, that's really holding him back, to be honest. At least his DreamWorks ranking didn't do that, at least. They didn't even mention Cars 2, I don't think. Thank God. But yeah, what else is there to mention about this movie? Humor, the music? Let's talk about one of the most important things about this movie, the inspiration. When John Lasseter was going around the world and showcasing press screenings, he was getting ideas of doing a whole around the world thing. But back when he was making the very first movie, he wanted to implement a whole spy element into the film because he loves spy movies and he loves how so many cars would have contraptions and weapons, and there was all kinds of gadgets and the awesome car chases and all that good stuff and all, and subways, and there could be ways of implementing the action with the racing, and there's all kinds of spy movies in different locations like ninjas in Japan and all kind of like soldiers and stuff like that, and you can have the Queen and everything. There's so much potential, and he got the green light to make a sequel for Cars due to its financial and critical success, and boom, locked and loaded, and eventually with a lot of detailed work and passion, we got this. And yeah, I definitely am very proud of John Lasseter for that. Such a shame that I believe that this was his last film to make because of controversy I don't really know too much about. Now, as for how I got this Blu-ray, it was thanks to my godfather Jeff years ago, back in like Christmas of 2011 or 2012, but it wasn't actually Christmas just yet. We were all sitting on the living room floor at his place with his Christmas tree that was authentic for once, and a real Christmas tree, and I unwrapped this, and I was so excited to finally watch it at home. But there were previous instances where I would watch this movie. There was my Sydney trip, like I brought up, where on the way to Australia, I was watching this movie a few times, replaying it, watching bits and stuff like that, pausing it in order to catch up on cool stuff, and being so bamboozled with fun. And as well as that, way before that, I remember before school was starting, I'll be going onto the Disney website where they were playing clips of this film and trailers and behind the scenes stuff, as well as Cars 1 clips and Cars tunes and all good stuff. So many good memories. I remember how laggy it was. I left the room at one point, came back to the computer to see music video Mater screaming at the camera and running away. The Walmart and Up and Up ads. Good times. And I've loved collecting the cars from this movie all the way up to nowadays, even though there's not too many of them being released. They definitely should. I have so many ideas. Like that pity with the musical instrument in France. That definitely needs to be made. Or some of the rusty cars, perhaps. Maybe that blue gremlin with the headset. Maybe the green gremlin that fell off of the oil rig. Which, speaking of which, I remember recreating the oil rig scene as well with the long, tall pole kind of sort of thing, and setting a few mattresses and stuff like that from our couch in the middle of the living room and recreating the whole oil rig sequence. And I would often take like some of my extra vehicles and stuff like that, as in like side or background characters, even though they're not lemons or at all like the rest. I would often have them treated like bad guys, like a mini DJ or a mini TJ and stuff like that. I know, weird stuff. And there's plenty of fun tidbits I want to bring up about this movie too. Before I actually saw the movie, I almost thought that there wasn't like any villain because in the first movie we had Chick Hicks and that was kind of it. When this movie was coming out, I didn't know that like the Lemons and Professor Z were actually villains. I just kind of interpreted it like Professor Z is like this guy who's like helping out to like inform of McQueen in order to figure out how to win or something like that. I know, I was a dumb kid, okay? Don't get angry at me for this. And like when he says McQueen cannot win the last race, I thought it was saying like McQueen, you can't win this. I'm gonna have to help you or something like that. You know, all that good stuff. Or even when Ace or yeah, right, yeah, Ace, you know who I'm talking about, says he's gonna go kaboom. I thought it was just like a fun catchphrase. When he says ka-chow, he's gonna go kaboom instead and all. Ka-chow, kaboom, woohoo! I just thought it was like a fun joke kind of thing and all, not him actually dying and exploding. So yeah, that really caught me off guard when I actually saw the movie and realized that they were villains. I was also surprised by the fact that they can die as well. I didn't know that death was a thing in the Cars universe, and it blew my mind and kind of scared me. The idea of the gremlin going into the water, the explosion of the boat and the oil rig ramp, and the scene where the pacer goes up, but especially that one brown trunk off, which also needs a diecast, gets like this. The fact that like the whole cab area where his eyes and possibly like where his innards, like his mind and stuff like that, are getting crushed and squished and everything like that, and the fact that you can't fully see it when you see their corpses on top of the building later on, it's like this kind of not really scared me, but just intrigued me and kind of scared me a little bit as a kid. It's like it's treated like it's fine and normal or whatever. I was like, yeesh. Some other fun misconceptions include not understanding all the dialogue, and I don't mean like innuendo jokes like everyone else brings up. I mean just like not understanding the words properly. Like when Mater says, "Yeah, two of them sweets for me too, Sid." I thought he said, "Yeah, two." Wait, no. Finn says, "Paris, too sweet." Yeah, two of them sweets for me too, Sid. I thought Finn was saying, "Paris, too sweet." Ugh. And Mater said, "Yeah, too damn sweet for me too, Sid." I was kind of like, wait, whoa, Mater swore. When he didn't. I don't know, just weird stuff. And I would also bring all my Cars 2 cars with me on camping trips and even to Jeff's house and all, even if it was just for a few hours. I would bring like all my cars at the time. I stopped that when I was like in middle school. No, I'm sorry. Before upper elementary or so, I stopped doing that. And thank God. Jeff must have been really embarrassed by that. There was a weird time when I called Raul GRC and Max WTCL because I couldn't remember their names. And for some reason, I kept calling Nigel Gearsley McFeeny. I don't know where the name came from. Actually, I do. It was from the Monster Truck Mater short. I kept imagining Monster Truck Mater saying McFeeny instead of gotcha or something like that, kind of, when he's out of the ring at that one point and he flips the thing. I don't know why I remember him saying McFeeny when he didn't say that. Weird memories. I also like the term of lemons. I like the whole history of Cars stuff. I love Otis as well. What else? I also think it's kind of interesting how much this movie gives us new questions and lore and stuff like that about the franchise and the history of this world and how it works and how the cars are. Are they like living organisms? Are they computers? Are they just normal cars that are animated to be fun, wacky characters and you shouldn't think about it? It kind of boggles your mind and interests you to learn about more, and it opens up a lot more than even the first or possibly the third movie did. Also because of the international stuff. And also Celine Defer as well. Sheesh, looks like Sparky from A Car's Life. I also love that little "Come on, fuzzy dice" line because I would have me and my parents have a little pair of red fuzzy dice that we would hang up or put in the camper at times and stuff like that. And they're still up there, but they're detached, unfortunately. And I would often put them on the ground and throw them around on the kitchen, being like, "Come on, fuzzy dice! Come on, fuzzy dice!" Being all cute. Aw. And one more fun little detail. I'm Jay Kirby from. Wait. Can't say it. I'm Jay Kirby Gremlin from Detroit. So yeah, that was always a fun detail as a kid. So yeah, knowing that there's a character in this movie that's from where I'm from, for crying out loud, even though he's a villain and stuff like that, even though he's possibly my favorite of the group. Yeah, pretty dang awesome. So yeah, Cars 2, happy birthday. You deserve so much more respect than you get, honestly. And yeah, tell me your thoughts on Cars 2 in the comments below, and please don't be too overly harsh on this movie, for crying out loud. Give it a bit more passion and respect. Maybe watch it another time with this mindset. Maybe watch the Bob Show video, listen to Disney Docket, whatever. And I respect your opinion if you dislike this movie. But anyways, that's not important. Happy birthday, Cars 2. You deserve all the respect in the world.